Hey everybody, it's Kira and welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing my annual mid-year book freakout tag video. I've done this every year for the past few years, and so I will link those in the description below. But I have my questions here in my notebook, and we're going to kind of recap the year so far in reading and just discuss some stuff that's coming up in the rest of the year, and I'm very excited to be doing this tag. So let's get into it. So the first question is the best book you've read this year, and I have two answers, one of which is a reread and one of which is a nonfiction book, actually. So I have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This was a reread for me, and I just love this series so much. I really love this book and like how it sets up each of the characters. Each character has a lot of depth to them, and you get each chapter is from a different character's point of view. You have everybody going on this amazing heist, and you always think in the middle of the heist that things have gone wrong, and you're like, how are they going to escape? And then they do, and it's all fine, and everything works out okay. This book is just so amazing. And then with the show coming out, with Shadow and Bone coming out, who they cast for each of the characters are so perfect for their roles, and I'm very excited for the second season and to see Wyland finally and to get more just crows in general. So yeah, I had a lot of fun rereading this. And then my second answer is The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. This is actually John Green's first book of nonfiction, and it's just reviews on different parts of his life and just life in general. So they're just mini reviews. Let's see, what are some fun ones that he does? He does like Googling strangers. He does some on Canadian geese. There's one on football and the song Auld Lang Syne, and like all sorts of things. And it's just his review of these things. It's a lot about just what it means to be human and to participate in humanity and the things we all have in common with each other, as well as just talking about like the history of some of the things. It's just really good. I love his writing a lot, and there's a podcast that goes along with this if you want to listen to it. So yeah, it's really cool. Number 2 is the best sequel you've read so far this year, and for that I have to go with We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faizal. This is the sequel to We Hunt the Flame, and it is so good. I'm glad I finally got to read it in May, I think. May or June. No, I read it in June. And it was just really good. The first book takes a little bit to get going, but I feel like the second book has a lot better pacing than the first book does. You follow our gang of characters as they start to scatter a little bit to kind of figure out what the next steps are to save their kingdom and save the world and magic especially. And we get Altair's point of view in here as well as Zafira and Nasir, which was also really fun, except it hurt my heart because he felt very betrayed, and I was like, no, I promise they are coming to get you, but he just like felt a little betrayed, and I was like, I promise they love you, it's okay. But this one was super fun, and everything wrapped up so beautifully, and I really enjoyed it. Number 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet, but you want to. And for that, I have to go with Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. So from what I know about this, it's about a girl who can see couples, like how a couple starts and how a couple's relationship is going to end. And so she decides she's just going to stay out of romantic relationships for the time being because she can like see how everybody's romances end. But then it's something to do with dancing, and there's a little bit of magic involved too. I really enjoyed Nicola Yoon's writing, and so I really want to read this. It just came out, I think, like a month or two ago, so it's fairly new, but I'm so excited to read it. Number 4 is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and I have to go with A Psalm of Storms and Silence by Roseanne A. Brown. This is the sequel to A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. I forgot what the title was for a second. This fantasy is so good, and I'm very excited. The second book comes out November 2nd, I believe it is. And I'm so excited to get back into this world with these characters and find out what happens. The first book follows 2 characters, one who's the princess whose mother has died, and she needs a spell, and she finds a spell that can bring her mother back to life, but to do that she needs the heart of a dead king. So she makes this competition that's going on. She makes the prize for winning this competition marrying her, which would then become the king, which would then mean she would kill them and then have the heart of a dead king. So that's the princess. That's, I just forgot her name. Karina. So that's Karina. And then we also have Malik, who is kind of a refugee, and one of his sisters gets taken by this like demon thing. And the demon thing is like, you have to kill the princess in order to get your sister back. So he ends up entering the competition kind of on accident, kind of by not, and gets chosen to compete in this big competition. And so the two of them are trying to kill each other, but they don't know they're trying to kill each other, and it's so, so good. And the magic in here is really interesting and really cool, and I'm very excited to reread this so that I can read the second one when the second one comes out, because it's just going to be so good. Question 5 is your biggest disappointment of the year so far, and for that I have to go with Edge of Great by, who is this by? It's by Nicola, Austen, I guess. The reason I'm disappointed with this is it's a really terrible adaptation of this Netflix series. So this is basically the Julie and the Phantoms novelization kind of thing, called The Edge of Great. And Julie and the Phantoms is a TV show on Netflix. If you haven't been around my channel long, I don't know if you've heard me talk about it, but it's my new favorite show. It's on Netflix. It's one season. It's amazing. But this really takes out a lot of the important things in the story, especially in the second half. Like, there's this whole sequence where Julie, the main character, imagines this dance sequence with Luke, who's one of the ghosts that appear to her and help her start playing music again. So she has this whole dance sequence with Luke, and the song is called Perfect Harmony, and it's just absolutely gorgeous, and the dance sequence is amazing, right? But it's all in her head, right? Like, it's an imagination, like, dream sequence. And they skip over that in the book. Like, that's not in the book. And I was like, what the heck? Like, it's written for children, so, like, that's fine. I don't really care about, like, the younger-ish, like, writing style. But it was more that they took out a lot of really important content, especially in the second half of the season and the second half of the book. And I was just like, why? Why would you do that? Like, I was just very let down by it. Question 6 is your biggest surprise of the year so far, and that has to be Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I honestly haven't read too many books by Jane Austen before I took a class on Jane Austen. I'd only read Pride and Prejudice, and that was it, actually. But I really, really enjoyed Northanger Abbey. This follows, oh boy, I'm going to forget everybody's names, Catherine Morland, and it talks a lot about just reading and Gothic novels, and I don't know, I found it just very entertaining and a lot of fun to read, especially because right before this I'd read the really long one, Mansfield Park. Right before this I'd read Mansfield Park, and it was so, so boring. And I was like, I just hate reading this right now. So then it was really fun to come into Northanger Abbey and be like, oh, like, this is really fun. It's not Jane Austen's writing I don't like. It was specifically that book. So this was a lot of fun, and I wasn't expecting to really enjoy it as much as I ended up doing. Okay, number 7 and number 8, I really don't have answers for. Number 7 is your newest favorite author. This can be new to you or a new debut author. And I really haven't read any new authors this year that I could say is really a favorite. And then number 8 is your newest fictional crush. And again, don't really have any. So we're going to move on to number 9, which is your newest favorite character. And honestly, it could be one of 2 characters from this book, Crosstalk by Connie Willis. So I really, really enjoyed Maeve. Is it Maeve? Mauve? Maeve? I don't know how you say it. But that was the main character. Who's the main character? I'm so blanking on everything. So Maeve is the niece of the main character, Brittany, and I really, really enjoyed her. She's like 9 years old, and her family is just, or her mother especially, is just very like helicopter mom, like you just worries about everything. And Maeve ends up being a really important character throughout the book, and I really enjoyed like having her butt into Brittany's point of view and like just in the story throughout. It was a lot of fun. And then also just Brittany and CB, who are the 2 main characters of this book. I really enjoyed the book in general, and I really enjoyed being in Brittany's head for the whole book, although she frustrated me at some points, but I just like had a lot of fun with it. Question 10 is a book that made you cry, and I have to go back to the Anthropocene Reviewed, specifically the one about Googling strangers. That one made me cry so hard. It was really sad just because, like, John Green tells us a story of when he was, oh, there's a fly in here. That's exciting. When he was a chaplain at a hospital, there was a little boy, I think it's a little boy, who was like a trauma patient who had come in with an accident, and he like really, he wanted to know, like he didn't know for sure if the boy had like made it, if he was still alive or not. And so one day, he like for a long time he doesn't look him up because he's not sure if he like actually wants to know, like if he could handle it if the boy had died. but then he eventually looks him up, and the book just repeats like, and he is alive, and he is alive, and he is alive, when he like ends up Googling this boy. And it just like made me sob so hard. I was like, ah! And like just the writing throughout all of this is just very, very beautiful. So it was all like good crying, but it definitely made me emotional. And then number 11 is a book that made you happy, and I have to go back to Crosstalk by Connie Willis. I should explain what this book is about. It's hard to explain without giving away too many spoilers, but basically there's this implant that you can get in your brain that makes you feel a romantic, like feel another person's feelings, specifically in a romantic relationship. So the main character, Brittany, works at a communications place, and her boyfriend, whose name I'm blanking on, also works at this communications place. And he's like, we should get this implant so that we can like feel how much we love each other. So she does, but then things go differently than are expected, and she starts hearing actual voices. She can hear like telepathically like hear words from somebody else who is not her boyfriend. And so she kind of has to figure out what the heck is going on. And it's really, really interesting, and it just made me happy. Like, I really like Connie Willis's writing style. If you haven't read Blackout and All Clear by Connie Willis, please do that. They're amazing. But it was just a lot of fun and really, really interesting. Number 12 is the most beautiful book that you've bought this year. And I haven't bought that many books, honestly, but I have to go with Aurora Rising and Aurora Burning by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. These covers are just really, really cool. I just love like the one color background into like, and the space and the people. Oh, I love these books so much, and I'm very excited for the third book to come out. That's another book that comes out, I think that comes out later this year, that I'm gonna have to read, and definitely will reread these two as well. But yeah, I really haven't bought that many books, so this question was kind of hard to answer, but I definitely have to go with these. They look really nice too together, so yeah. Hi, Editing Kira here. Just realized that I did the last question wrong, so I'm here to actually do it for real this time. So the last question is question 13, which is, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? And of course I have so many, but one of them is Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Mbalia. This is his first novel and is part of the Rick Riordan Presents imprint, and it's about a boy and Western African mythology. And I don't know much more than that, but it's the same kind of vein as Percy Jackson, which I really love that series, of course. And yeah, I follow the author on Twitter, and he's actually from Wisconsin as well, which is kind of fun, but I just really, really, really need to like read this series soon. So that's definitely one that's on my list of things to read before the end of the year. So yeah, that was my mid-year book freakout tag. Let me know down below in the comments if you've read any of the books, if you have any suggestions of books to read, if you just want to talk about anything, let me know in the comments. I'd love to chat down there. And yeah, I always love doing this tag. It's always a good time to kind of recap what's happened in the first half and then think about the second half of the year. It's crazy that we're like halfway through the year. That's just wild to me. Always is. By the time we get to the mid-year book freakout tag, I'm always like, it's halfway over. It's just wild. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for this video. If you want to follow me on social media, all my links will be in the description as always. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!